Next, let me introduce the fifth speaker. Leo Branch from St. Paul's University will deliver the speech under the title of Loving Everyone. Loving Everyone. Leo Branch, please come up to the center of the stage.
Sure. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, all the organizers, and the audience. Everyone, good afternoon. Thank you. I asked my parents what my name meant. Leo is my name, which means lion. The animal bites off zebras' heads and looks like a giant cat. But recently, I experienced something interesting to make me reconsider what my name meant. I had two grandmothers. One of my grandmother is no longer living. My grandmother from my mother's side passed away 2 years ago on August 5th, 2021. My grandmother was a kind woman. Whenever I visited her, she used to walk up to me and say, "Welcome, come in, come in. Wasn't it cold outside?" She loved flowers and crafted many beautiful flower decorations and gave them to everyone around her. She had a great heart and helped countless unprivileged people. However, 11 years ago, when I was only 9 years old, shocking news came to my ears. I also vividly remember my mother crying while listening to this. My grandmother got diagnosed with cancer. As a 9-year-old boy, I didn't know how cancer affects our bodies, but I knew it was something bad, something we really don't want. Ever since I heard that information, I was anxious when I visited her. I often told myself this might be my last time to see her. But at the same time, I saw her looking absolutely fine. She walked up to me and said, as usual, "Welcome, come in, come in. Wasn't it cold outside?" Little did I know, she was only hiding her condition in front of her beloved grandson. Also, a massive challenge was awaiting me. It was the toughest and the most terrifying challenge for me at that time. It was to convey my final appreciation to my grandmother before she left us. Truth be told, I thought of delivering my last words dozens of times. But I couldn't talk openly because she might get upset or sad by reminding her impending death. My mouth shut when I imagined her sad face. This hesitation kept me from conveying my final message. However, simultaneously, I was getting used to this terrible situation. Even after 10 years had passed from the very moment my grandmother got diagnosed with cancer, I still could not take action because I never really thought she would die. I was taking her existence for granted. On August 4th, 2021, the situation changed. It was a dark, cloudy morning. Not a single bird chirping was to be heard, but the silence everywhere made my heart pound. I had a phone call from my mother. My mother remained silent for a while, and when I asked, "Is everything okay?" she cried. Back then, my grandmother no longer had comprehension because of terminal cancer. She was on drugs to numb her pain, and her consciousness was unstable. It was as if a bubble were almost touching the tip of a needle, but barely levitating to avoid bursting. I recalled what I must do. I needed to convey my final appreciation. But even if I were to say anything, she no longer understood anything. My mother showed my grandmother through a line video. My grandmother miraculously regained some energy, and said to me, looking right through my eyes, "Why don't you come here?" A shiver ran down my spine. All I could do was look up to fight back my tears. When I visited her, she used to say, "Welcome, come in, come in." But that word was never to be heard ever again. After 12 hours had passed, I had a phone call again. It was from my mother, saying that my grandmother had died. On the day of her funeral, I was genuinely down. I even thought I didn't have the right to say goodbye. After listening to the chant coming out from the monk, I put some colorful flowers in my grandmother's coffin. And then abruptly, my ear caught a song that my grandmother loved. It was "Let It Be," sang by the Beatles. As the lyric came to my ears, it reminded me of my grandmother. Simultaneously, it felt like the song was trying to tell me something. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine on till tomorrow, let it be. Each word that came into my ears made me think that my grandmother was trying to tell me something. And then it didn't take me that long for me to realize. Her death was not a tragedy, but a lesson for all of us. She told us 3 important things. First, we take our loved one's existence too much for granted. It's too late to realize when your loved one is already gone. Please tell your thanks and love as much as possible. There is no guarantee that your loved one will wait for you. Second, when you want to convey your final message, it isn't tomorrow, not 10 years later, but now is the time you thank them. When you want to convey your final appreciation, your intuition already knows what to do. According to research conducted by the Japan Hospice Palliative Care Foundation, more than 60% of people cannot convey their final message even if they had the opportunity to do so. There are so many people out there who couldn't deliver their final message and regret, like me. Please surround your loved one with your caring heart. Lastly, there is always hope. Though the day when my grandmother passed away was the darkest day in my life, now her lesson is the brightest light that shines on this very stage. In short, my grandmother told us to love every loved one. Thinking about the essence of this speech, I came down to 3 words: loving everyone. If you take each initial from each word, that makes L, E, and O. My grandmother gave me a new meaning to my name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo Branch. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Thank you, Leo, for your very touching speech. I've
you.
got a few questions for you. So what are some things that you do differently now as a result of this experience?
Okay, thank you for your question. And I've got siblings in the UK, and I've got my grandparents and also all my siblings in Japan. And I often contact them to say, I'm doing like this, I participated in this contest or like that, and I update everyone, and I say that I always appreciate them. And whenever I have an occasion to see them, I do like FaceTime or Skype to see them.
Right, thank you. Okay, so is there anything we can do on a daily basis to remind ourselves of the 3 important lessons that you discussed in your speech?
Okay, thank you. So first, we take our loved one's existence too much for granted. So knowing that and appreciating them on a daily basis, so if they did something nice for you, saying thanks and doing something in return is a really good, I think, idea. And if you have a person who is in a life-threatening situation but still have comprehension, you must, or you can and you will, I think, convey your appreciation. So I think that could be done. And thinking about the last lesson, I think every person faces adversity and difficult situations. And seeing a light in such darkness, I think, is a thing to bear in mind. So I think remembering these three things are important.
Right. So let's see. Some people are not necessarily very expressive, and they might find it challenging to express their emotions. So in addition to sort of verbally, expressing our gratitude, emotions, what do you think we can do to tell loved ones that we love them?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. And I think there are a lot of ways nowadays to communicate with other people. So instead of talking to a person in person, I think we've got social networking services and also other ways, maybe a letter, to convey their appreciation. So the method should be decided by the individual, and I think that would do depending on the person's characteristic. So since there are a lot of means of communication, using these and utilizing those are important.
Okay, thank you, Leo. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Leo Branch.